Hi, it's Patrik Hutzel from intensivecareathome.com, where we provide tailor-made solutions for long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomies, and where we also provide tailor-made solutions for hospitals and intensive care units, whilst providing quality care for our clients, which includes home TPN, home IV potassium infusions, home BIPAP, home CPAP, tracheostomy care, IV antibiotics, as well as port management, central line management, PICC line management, and Hickman's line management. Now, in today's podcast, I bring on a repeat guest, Tara Thorpe in Dallas in the US. Hi, Tara, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Tara, thank you so much for coming on to a podcast again. I really appreciate it. Tara, you and I have been talking on and off for the last 6 months, and we've recorded a previous podcast about launching intensive care at home in the US. And today we want to talk more about how we make that happen. Tara, you are currently, and you have been in Dallas, in Texas for quite some time. And we now want to offer intensive care at home in Dallas, in Texas, privately, which means Tara will be your go-to person if you are living in Dallas, in Texas, or surroundings, or Fort Worth. Tara is our clinical liaison nurse there, and she can help you with getting your family member home. Or you might be watching this or listening to this, and you might have a family member at home who needs care because they're on a ventilator, or they're on a trach, or they need home TPN. And that's where Tara can help you. And just for the records here, Tara has worked with us in Australia for over 2 years. And Tara, you've been a great staff member. You know exactly what needs to happen in someone's home when someone is ventilated with a tracheostomy. You know exactly what needs to happen also for a hospital discharge if we are transitioning someone from hospital or from ICU to home if they have a ventilator and a tracheostomy. Tell people a little bit more about your experience. I know your experience very well, but tell us a little bit more what you've done in the past with us and how you can help our future clients in Dallas.
Yeah, so I have ICU experience. I also have experience as a trauma RN too. And so I specialize with ICU ventilated patients, patients, as Patrik said, on TPN, PICC line management, all the clinical sides of things, hemodynamic stability. But more than that, I really focus on a holistic type of care too, which is I like my patients once they're home to really experience life the way that they want to in their own autonomous way. So not only are we focused on keeping you safe and out of hospital, we want you to have a good quality of life while you're at home too. And so loved working with intensive care at home, still love working with intensive care at home. And it's a company that Patrik and I have been talking and really trying to get to Texas. So we're so excited that it's happening now and that we can provide this service to Texans, because I have so many patients in hospital that when we discharge, the family doesn't know where the patient can go when the hospital discharges, and they're deemed medically cleared to go home, but vent dependent, and they typically go to nursing homes. And I've never been okay with that. But we don't have any other options here typically.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
game here.
yeah. That's great, Tara. And like you said, we are really excited in making this a reality now. And, you know, Tara, you and I have seen so many clients over the years, what it means for them to leave the hospital system and live a really good quality of life at home for many years to come. You know, even though they're ventilator dependent, they have a tracheostomy, but they are in the comfort of their own home.
Absolutely.
And you know, our clients here, they never have any hospital readmissions, any non-elective hospital readmissions, I should say. They still go back to hospital here and there for some elective stuff, but you know, not for anything non-elective, which is what, you know, what people want. I mean, you and I know there are so many families and patients in hospitals and in ICU, they're simply depressed.
Yeah,
Because they're spending day and night in the four walls of a hospital, and or in LTAC, you have LTACs in Dallas, I would think, you know, and it's just not the right place for those patients and families.
No,
You know?
I second that completely.
Yeah. Okay. So what we offer really is we offer up to 24-hour care. And again, if you're watching this or listening to this, you might be at home already and you might have insufficient support. You might bounce back into hospital all the time, or you might have a family member bouncing back into hospital all the time because, you know, you don't have the support that you need. This is actually how I first got started over 10 years ago. I started with a client that was at home already, but had recurring ICU readmissions, and we put a stop to that. You know, so if you are watching this and you're at home and you don't have enough support, you know, that would be a good starting point for you and for us to keep you home predictably, you know. But even if you are in a hospital and you are more or less stable and you can go home, you know, we can help you with up to 24-hour specialist nursing care. And I also want to say, you know, if you're listening to this or watching this, it might sound daunting now for you to think, oh, how can I go home? Again, that is where we are the specialists, you know, in organizing all the equipment, making sure a safe transfer can happen at home or to a home care environment. We organize all the equipment. We actually know what equipment you need to make a successful transition home. Tara, I think what's also important, you know, some people, they come to us every now and then and they say, hey, what about the staff? Will you find me the right staff? And you and I both know how important it is to find the right staff. You know, you can't just send any nurse into someone's home. They have to have the right attitude. You know, they have to have the skill to, quote unquote, read a room. You know, if they can't read a room, and if they can't read the emotion that's going on in someone's house, you know, they usually don't last very long. So I also think that, you know, we have the skill to select the right staff. It's, Tara, we when we interview here now, we say that more and more often. We say, can you read a room?
Yeah.
That's part of our interview now.
You know, it's funny you say that because I remember one of my dear patients in Australia, he was nonverbal, but cognitively intact. And we used to have conversations with facial expressions, and I would be able to understand exactly what he was saying because I think I knew how to read his room.
Exactly. But Tara, that is such an important skill to have. You know, the clinical side of what we do is, of course, very important, but that's 50% of the equation. The other 50% of the equation is, can our nurses read a room?
Yeah, especially in home environment. It's sacred. It's someone's space and you're respecting their home.
Yeah. So, you know, if you are concerned about, you know, can we select the right staff for your family? I argue that we can, because that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years, selecting nurses that have the clinical skills, but also have the social skills to fit in your home environment. That is, like you said, Tara, it's sacred. Sacred. And we are a guest in someone's home, you know. So so with that unique skill that, Tara, that you have there, I know you will be able to help families who have an interest with, you know, going home with intensive care at home in the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. And then we would hire nurses if, you know, if we need more than one nurse, which we probably would, you know, especially if it's 24-hour nursing care. But for example, for things such as TPN, home TPN, you know, 24-hour care is often not needed, but sometimes it is, depending on what's exactly happening, you know. But there are situations where 24-hour care is not needed. But especially if your family member or if you want to go home on a ventilator with a tracheostomy, we strongly recommend that 24-hour nursing care is needed. Because as you know, Tara, we've had to recent inquiries in the US where families wanted to take their loved ones home on a trach, no ventilator, and we strongly recommended against it without 24-hour nursing care. And unfortunately, lo and behold, both family members bounced back into ICU within less than 24 hours, just as we predicted at the time. So please be aware that, you know, we are clinicians and we have the experience when we say it's not safe to go home. It often is because we know that the setup at home just needs to be right and it needs to be safe before you're making such an important decision of going home. Tara, I also want to quickly mention in the community what is important, obviously, is having access potentially to doctors if we need to escalate any medical issues. Can you quickly talk about that, how we would go about that in the Dallas metropolitan area if we need to escalate any medical issues?
Yeah, so we would get a private physician on board to be able to, if vital signs are unstable or we were of concern that we need to go to hospital, we would be able to get patient to a safe hospital or a physician to oversee their care to keep them safe.
Yeah, and again, this is not dissimilar to what we are doing here, Tara, where, you know, if there's a medical concern, we escalate that to after hours home doctors or even sometimes to emergency physicians, to ICU physicians. You know, we do that here all the time, and, you know, it won't be any different here as long as you have access. However, what I also want to stress here is because we exclusively work with critical care RNs with a minimum of 2 years critical care nursing experience. So, you know, I argue that the experience is already there, how to keep our clients or patients home predictably. You know, that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years. And we wouldn't be in business and we wouldn't be talking about intensive care at home if we weren't achieving that in keeping our clients home predictably. You know, because the last thing that we want for any client is to go home and then they keep bouncing back to ICU. I mean, that's can't be in anyone's interest. And that's why we sort of say, why we're saying it needs to be 24-hour nursing care for someone on a ventilator with a trach, because otherwise the risk of things going wrong is real. And unfortunately, we have seen things going very wrong if there wasn't 24-hour nursing care with ICU nurses at home for patients on a ventilator with a trach. Patients have died because they did not have the critical care nurse during certain periods of times. And that's when things unfortunately went wrong. So, you know, we really want to stress that 24-hour specialist nursing care is needed at home for someone on a ventilator with a trach, even if they're not ventilated but have a trach. You know, the other thing, Tara, that we are doing here, which might also be of interest for some clients in the Dallas area, we are now providing an emergency department bypass service for the local area health service in Sydney. Basically, what we're doing there is we're sending our critical care nurses into people's homes to prevent an emergency department admission. So we unblock catheters. We unblock catheters. We change catheters.
We would be so lucky.
What's that?
We would be so lucky in America to have that.
Well,
we need that.
But, you know, exactly. You know, if anyone, and you might even be a hospital listening to this, you know, and you might think, oh, that is exactly what we need, because our emergency department emergency room is overcrowded.
100%.
Probably is, you know, and you might be a nursing home listening to this and you might say, hey, if we could keep our nursing home residents at home rather than sending them to ER or to ED, well, everyone is winning. You know, we are now going as far, Tara, that we are doing nasogastric tube changes at home, and we have home X-ray doing the follow-up X-ray at home.
Wow. Just how we save on resources, time. That would be.
But Tara, it's not only that. Imagine for a nursing home resident, do they need an ambulance to go to ED? Is that what they need?
No. And it's cost thousands.
Costs thousands. The
So that transportation,
the
on the patient.
stress on patients, the
Mhm.
stress on the nursing home, the stress on families. You know, the nursing home, the nurse in charge then needs to call the family, and you know, it's just like, and emergency departments are overrun with other things. And all it, like I said, all it is really is changing a catheter, changing an IDC, changing an SPC. Sometimes it's changing a PICC tube. Sometimes it's changing an nasogastric tube. Sometimes it's changing a tracheostomy tube, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's giving an injection for something, right?
Yeah.
So, but you know, the sky's the limit really here. As long as we can mobilize nurses willing to go places.
And I believe we can.
Yeah,
And
I think we can. We've shown that for the last 10 years, and it's location independent.
right.
You know, it's location independent. What we can't do, I think, Tara, what we can't do, and for anyone listening, what we can't do is to provide an emergency service for families who have a loved one at home on a ventilator with a trach, doing sort of a call out and keeping them at home, because that can't often be done by an hour visit. You know, that is something that really needs 24-hour nursing care, you know, which is what we've seen over and over and over again. But in terms of for someone that's not ventilated, doesn't have a trach, absolutely a visit from an ED or an ICU nurse to prevent a hospital admission might be sufficient. Right.
Yeah.
So we really, Tara, we really wanted to keep this short today. It's really another announcement from our end that we are launching this now in Dallas, in Texas, privately, you know, and if you think that your insurance might pay for it, that's great. Then we would obviously talk to your insurance. But, you know, the promise that we can definitely make is to provide this service privately, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that is really great. Tara, any final words before we wrap this up?
Actually, yes. I want to say, so we say y'all in Texas, Patrick. So intensive care at home is coming to Texas, y'all.
No.
Y'all. Kind of. We'll work on it.
Not sure when I'm saying that the right way.
No, but we'll work on it.
We'll work on it. That's it. That's it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tara. So, and you might be a critical care nurse in Texas watching this, and you might know of some patients. We would love to hear from you as well. Or you might be a family in Dallas, in Texas, watching this, and you know, you have a loved one. Please reach out to us. If you go to intensivecareathome.com, our US number is on the top of the website, or you can send us an email to info@intensivecareathome.com. You might be a hospital watching this, a hospital executive. You might be an ICU doctor watching this, an ED or ER doctor watching this. Please reach out to us if you need help. And if you are watching this and you are in Australia, please reach out to us as well. We're operating all around Australia in all major capital cities, as well as regional and rural. We are NDIS approved, an NDIS approved service provider in Australia, TAC in Victoria, iCare in New South Wales, NIISQ in Queensland, as well as DVA all around the country. We also offer level 2 and level 3 NDIS specialist support coordination in Australia. And Tara, thank you so much once again. And I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Take care. Bye.